Welcome. Ron Allen, a member of West Street Christian Church, extending the ministry of the congregation through this electronic medium, looking at the Gospel of Mark in relationship to a crisis that was taking place in Judaism at the time Mark told the story of Jesus, approximately 40 years after the resurrection. It was a time when the social fabric of Judaism was tearing apart. The followers of Jesus, being a small group within Judaism, were vexed by many of the same anxieties, questions, and concerns that affected the larger community. Mark tells the story in such a way as to let the story of Jesus speak to this later time, and in no part of the gospel is that more clear than it is in the text I want to look at this evening, which is the story of the Transfiguration in Mark 9, 2 and following. The Transfiguration occurs just after the event that we discussed in part 14 of this series, the incident on the road at Caesarea Philippi, where Jesus Jesus asks the disciples, "Who do the people say that I am?" And Peter confesses, "You are the Christ." And then Jesus explains that to be the Christ, to be the Messiah, means that he is standing up to the face of Roman oppression, domination, to the principalities and powers and the values and practices of the old age. And those principalities and powers, in the form of the Roman Empire, seek to extinguish the possibility of the new world toward which Jesus points by putting him to death. Jesus then tells the disciples, if you want to be my disciple, then you need to follow me, make the same kind of witness that I make, and if it means going to your own kind of cross, you need to be prepared to do that. This is not a fatalism. It is intended to be a straightforward warning, a straightforward piece of guidance and advice as to what they can expect in the short term when they make a commitment of their long-term lives to witnessing to the way of Jesus, the way of the realm of God, as the way God would like everyone to live, and as a replacement for the burdensome things of the Roman Empire. So tonight, 6 days after that event, 6 days, numbers important, not 7 days, 6 days meaning this is an event that has pertinence to those who are living in the world before the final great transformation. It's a message for people in a world like Mark's. Had it been 7 days, that would have been a different symbolism pointing to the world as it is beyond the great transformation. So Mark already signals the readers, this has something pertinent for you. He takes with him Peter, James, and John, whom we have characterized earlier as the inner circle, the leadership team of the 12 disciples, so that they can have the benefit of this revelation. And so we, readers, can identify with them. And Mark then, through that identification, pushes us to ask, would we respond to Jesus in the same way that they do? If not, then we need to consider how we should respond. He was transfigured. It was on a mountaintop. And in those days, they believed rather straightforwardly that if you went up, you got closer to the gods. And the mountain, of course, in the Jewish tradition is often a symbol of revelation, of special discovery and knowledge. And then the text says very plainly, he was transfigured before them. When I give you the Greek word, you will recognize instantly what happened. It is the word metamorphothe, from which we get our word metamorphosis. To be transfigured was for his body to take on the characteristics of the body of the world to come. They believed that at the time of the Great Transformation, which Christians associate with the second coming, the faithful would be raised to be with Jesus forever, and a part of this new resurrection would be a transformed body that would never wear out. So Mark is saying that having just revealed the suffering of the Messiah and the suffering way of discipleship, Jesus now gives them a picture of what they get when they are faithful in standing up and witnessing to the coming new world. He is the prototype, the paradigm. Paul calls him the first fruit of those who have fallen asleep. And here, what they see in the midst of the old age is Jesus as he will be and as they would be if they do what Jesus asks them to do. He was transfigured before them, and his clothes became dazzling white, such as no one on earth could bleach them. This, of course, is the same color of white as we see in Daniel 7, where Daniel witnesses God in this kind of dazzling, pure color. And it's a way of saying that the work of Jesus comes directly from God. And there appeared to them Elijah with Moses, who were talking with Jesus. Christians sometimes make what I think is a mistake in seeing Jesus as superior to Elijah and Moses. There's nothing here that suggests superiority, rather continuity. Elijah and Moses, in Jewish tradition in this period, were both considered climactic prophets. Jesus, appearing there with them, is also identified as a prophet, but with a difference, and that is he is a prophet of the coming new world. They were both reformers, but they were not replacement advocates. Jesus, according to the Gospel of Mark, sees the present age as so messed up, it needs to be not just repaired, but replaced. Then Peter said to Jesus, Rabbi, it is good for us to be here. Let us make 3 dwellings, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. They didn't know what to say, for they were terrified. Peter doesn't get it. He wants to preserve this moment as if the brokenness of the old age is not still all around them. He wants to live in the transfiguration without going the way of witness, which may mean taking up his own cross. Mark's point is that this is not possible before the final great event. For the time being, we are granted this dazzling anticipation, this dazzling portrayal of what the future will be like, but it is one to embody only insofar as we can. Then a cloud overshadowed them. That's a symbol of the divine presence. And there came a voice, this is my son, the beloved. Listen to him. This is the same voice. In fact, it's almost the same words in Greek that God spoke over the baptism of Jesus. This is my son, the beloved. But now Mark adds the words, listen to him. Pay attention to what he said on the road to Caesarea Philippi, that he will stand up to the powers of this age and be killed, and you will take up your cross. Listen to that, and listen also to what they have just seen. Jesus speaking with Moses and Elijah about the end of the brokenness in the coming of a season of renewal. This is a moment of the future Jesus gives the disciples in their broken present. It is a down payment. It is a first fruit. It is a way for them to see what is ahead while they are in the midst of their tense circumstances. This happens to me so often in worship at West Street on Sunday morning when we come to the Lord's Supper. The loaf and the cup, the act of partaking together, the solemnity of the elders' prayers, the invitation to the table, the sense of community. These things often function for me to transfigure my experience, to help me realize that there are, even in the struggles of the present, moments of the future that are like a powerful magnet pulling me forward. How about you? Especially in this time of coronavirus. What are the signals you have seen that God's future is already possible within our present, and all we need to do is give ourselves to it? Well, this is the day Governor Holcomb announced that the reopening would begin on Monday in phase 1, and if the data supports, would continue through phases 2, 3, 4, and 5, fully opening or fairly fully opening our world by July 4th. I plan to continue doing these little meditations for another week or two, or as long as needed. So for those who are interested, they will be available next Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Peace to all.